Today, on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat, we take a ride on the custom L&H 33, built for country legend Alan Jackson.
He told me several times after they had fished it that he was extremely pleased with the boat and the performance.
George LaBonte joins Tony Eden aboard his extremely customized 31-foot Contender.
Not everyone's fortunate enough to have the tools to complete a project like the one we'll look at today, but when they do, the results can be extraordinary.
The technicians at TRB take on repairing our hurricane-damaged Hydra-Sports.
When we got in there, I could see that there was actually some delamination going on. At that point, I knew that we were in a little bit deeper than we were hoping to be.
And the team at Wildfire Marine begins rewiring on the 23-foot Seacraft.
I think he's going to be happy for a long time. He shouldn't have any electrical issues for quite some time.
All coming up on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join us as we follow one-off builds to all-out restorations in Stuart, Florida's Dreamboat District, home to some of the best custom boat builders in the world. From modest to over-the-top, industry experts from the district's premier facilities show how it's done. Fiberglass repair, custom paintwork, engine rigging, electronics installations, and more. And boating editor George LaBonte shares the stories of boaters who have already turned their dreams into reality. This is Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat.
All right, well, we're all finished up with the Alan Jackson project, and it really was a good, fun project for L&H to do. And we always follow up on it, make sure everything's working fine. So I contacted the captain, and we got a little opportunity to run down to Palm Beach and take a little ride on the boat and get a little feedback from him and Alan just to see how everything was working, if they were happy with everything.
Alan's done everything on this boat, from take it to lunch on the intercoastal to actually the first fish we caught on this boat was a sailfish, and those are the reasons he likes it. We can hop in the boat at 8 in the morning, run out a couple miles, catch a sailfish or two, and be back in the intercoastal and eating lunch. And on a hot day, we can fire up the air conditions and hang out in the cabin. And it's a very versatile boat to be put all in a 33-foot package.
Alan had seen the boat many years ago. We built a lot of 33s, and he's seen them at the marinas that he fishes out of. So they came to us with the idea of building a boat on the L&H hull with a different deck layout on it, similar to an old Prowler that he owned that he was very fond of. And so with a small drawing of that, we went to work on it and did put the pieces of the puzzle together for him. It was a good opportunity for L&H to show what we can do, which is, custom built boats in a semi-custom type fashion where, again, we're using our existing hull, but being able to freelance a little bit on the design aspects of it. And Alan really thought that our hull would fit that design well, and I think it did as well. The broken shear line has helped us do a little that we needed to do to hide some of the working aspects of the boat and make it aesthetically look correct. It worked really well in this case.
One thing that Mr. Jackson really enjoys about this boat in particular is the beauty we find in this boat with the simplicity of the lines. It's a gorgeous boat without getting too complicated.
This is obviously not a typical sports fishing boat, but it's the old classic looking boat. It's got great lines to it. It's got a real classical look to it. And it is a fishing machine. It's not set up with the tower and the riggers the way you typically see sports fishing boats done today.
What we love most about this L&H in particular is probably its versatility. It's a very seaworthy 33-foot hull, so it allows us to fish in the ocean. And combined with the Seakeeper, we can fish the ocean comfortably on most days within reason. And you can look good while you're doing it.
Alan loved the boat. He told me several times after they had fished it on a few occasions that he was extremely pleased with the boat and the performance. It makes you proud, makes you happy.
When we come back, George LaBonte joins Dreamboat owner Tony Eden aboard his 31-foot Contender in this week's One Man's Dreamboat segment. This segment brought to you by Armstrong. Experience the Armstrong Advantage.
Do you have the Armstrong Advantage? In its most basic form, an Armstrong outboard bracket improves the efficiency of your outboard motor. This equates to a faster time to plane and higher top speeds. The list of advantages continue with improved maneuverability, added space, and a quieter ride. Adding a swim platform accompanied by an Armstrong boarding ladder will certainly add to your day out on the water. Isn't it time for you to gain the Armstrong advantage?
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us for this week's One Man's Dreamboat segment with Florida Sportsman boating editor George LaBonte as we feature anglers who have already launched their dream. Florida Sportsman began these features 30 years ago, and the dreams just keep getting better.
The amount of experience and resources at one's disposal varies quite a bit on the one-man's projects we come across. Not everyone's fortunate enough to have the tools to complete a project like the one we'll look at today, but when they do, the results can be extraordinary. Today, we're in Jacksonville, Florida to meet up with Tony Eden and see his spectacular 31-foot Contender project.
My name's Tony Eden, own Boatronics in North Florida. We do everything on boats, all kinds of rigging. We're known mostly for, of course, for electronics and rewiring boats. We don't do much paint or fiberglass or anything like that, but we do pretty much any kind of rigging. So cobia fishing is definitely my favorite thing to do, particularly sight fishing and running the beach. So our last boat was a Pathfinder that we built, but we found ourselves having to run farther and farther to find the fish, so I started wanting a bigger boat. Contender has always been one of my favorites. I feel like, you know, they're one of the easiest boats to work on. They look great. They'll do just about anything good. So the 31 being probably, you know, the icon of center console fishing boats was definitely the one that I wanted. So we got the boat, and it was actually a working boat. The motors and everything on the boat were still running. We started at the hull, made sure all the stringers were in perfect shape, and we went up from there. We see so many boats day in, day out, and they're all the same. They're these plain white boats, and nobody ever does anything cool on them. And then one day I saw the Grander, and I was just awestruck by it. The colors, you know, the way they brought the black and the gray and the browns, the soft leather colors on the inside. It looked like a battleship from the front, but a luxury boat from the back. We pretty much followed the exact theme of the Grander. We used the Alex Seal steel gray on the sides and the Stardust silver on the top. And then of course the sea deck on the top that Castaway Customs did for us, and the matching interior that Moose's Auto Interiors did for us to pull it all together. There was a lot of consideration with the top. I knew I wanted a second station for cobia sight fishing mainly. It's definitely the funnest place on the whole boat. You got all the wind in your face, and you can just see everything so good from, you know, the extra height, and it's my favorite spot on the boat for sure.
Now this project is impressive on every level, but where she really shines and showcases Tony's talent is in the rigging and electronics.
So we call this a glass helm display, where you can literally run your hand over the entire thing, and it's all one flat surface. Nothing sticks out over the top. I knew I wanted to do the biggest screen possible, and you know, from the get-go, I was like, dang, let's do a 24-inch screen on this. This one is the new Simrad NSO 24S version. It's the new super fast, super high clarity, high brightness. And it's almost wall-to-wall on the console, as you can see. The head unit is Fusion Apollo, and then all the amps, we've got two 1,000-watt JL Audio amps for the 4 subwoofers, and then we've got two JL Audio 808 8-channel amps that are bridged to 4 channels. All the wiring for all of that stuff is there's actually a different color with a different stripe by Pacer. Pacer makes a wire that, you know, any color you could ask for with any stripe combination. So I can look at a wire on any part of the boat in any bundle and go, oh, that's the bilge pump wire or live well wire, whatever it may be. So I knew I was gonna do a trolling motor on the bow of the boat to anchor us up where we don't have to use an anchor anymore. You literally just put the trolling motor down in the water, hit a button, and it's gonna hold you right over the fish. Even when the wind and currents and everything shifts, it just goes with it and keeps you right over the fish. We knew we wanted to put Yamahas on the boat again. You know, it was originally powered with Yamahas. I knew we wanted to put those back on for reliability, performance. Our highest number we've seen so far was 60 miles per hour, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 miles per gallon if we're going slower or, you know, at a cruising speed. So we like to go to the sandbar and hang out, get in the water and play, mingle with friends there, maybe go to dinner, one of the restaurants on the water on the way back.
As the day wound down, a relaxing sunset cruise for a bite to eat led to darkness and a chance for Tony to showcase the elaborate lighting and sound equipment that really sets this rig apart from the rest.
Yeah, at night it comes alive. It has 7 underwater lights, so they're facing backwards, down, and outwards. We've got RGB under gunnel lights all the way around the boat, and then all of the speakers are RGB as well. We can control them all independently and control everything from the main screen. You make them turn different colors or all together, flash, strobe, anything you want. They'll dance to the music. So it's a good time at night.
Despite the fact that most of us aren't ever going to take a project to this extreme, it doesn't make it any less fun to look at, and anyone can appreciate the work that Tony put into this rig.
After an initial investment of $42,000 and spending $200,000 on repairs and custom modifications, the cost of Tony's Dreamboat comes to a total of $242,000. When we return, the team at Two Rivers Boatworks works to bring a badly damaged Hydra-Sports back to life. This segment brought to you by Fiberglass Coatings, the largest selection of fiberglass materials in the United States.
FGCI is a leading supplier of composite materials, family-owned for over 60 years and headquartered right here in Florida. We have the materials and technical expertise to service manufacturers, repair professionals, and DIYers alike. Our gel coat color matching is a favorite of seasoned professionals and weekend warriors. Access our online store at fgci.com, call to speak with a product specialist, or visit our stores in Fort Lauderdale or St. Petersburg. FGCI is your partner on boat projects big and small.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join us as TRB's expert technicians perform structural repairs to a hurricane-damaged Hydra-Sports.
So we got this Hydra-Sport in over from the Bahamas. Boat was damaged in Hurricane Dorian, and the owner of the boat was able to bring it back across. The boat got a little beat up. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to it. My team and I have had a meeting, we've put a strategy in place. So I'm going to hand it over to Nate and the guys to ensure that this job gets done properly.
So when we got the boat in, we weren't quite sure of the extent of the damage that was going on by looking at it. We could see that there was some obvious paint damage and some chips in the side of the boat that needed to be addressed. But we could also kind of see and hear a little bit when you were, bang on the side of the boat, some vibrations. So when we got in there, I could see that there was actually some delamination going on. At that point, I knew that we were in a little bit deeper than we were hoping to be. The next step from there, we had to grind away quite a bit of fiberglass. Once we started grinding, we could see that there was multiple layers of delamination going on. So we just had to keep grinding glass away until we finally reached the end of the delamination spot. So we've got Chris back in the fiberglass shop. I know that I've got the right guy on the job. He's got an extensive background in fiberglass repairs, and he's got a great eye for detail. When it comes down to it, I know that he's not gonna let this boat leave in any better condition than perfect.
So I got out of the Marine Corps in 2012, and from there, I went and built center consoles with my family, a 19-footer. Got my feet wet in infusion and everything else, and from there I went and infused big parts for a 73-foot Ocean Alexander. Then I went and built power boats in Georgia for almost 2 years, and built Garlington, Landwehr, sport fisher yachts for another 2 years or a year and a half. Anyway, all that kind of brought me over here to Two Rivers, where I'm doing a lot of custom work. We got this Hydra-Sport in not too long ago from the hurricane. We got to build the hull back up, make it stronger than it was before. So I laid a few big sheets of 1708 and some mat down the whole side. Initially rolled it out like you're supposed to. Then I took some little pieces of mat and I built up the radius a little bit more just to make it easier for me to fare out. So after the fiberglass, I moved on to sanding. The only difficult part to it was that you had a pretty gnarly radius right down the center of the boat. Not a lot of boats have that, but this one had like a nice radius It was dead smack in the middle of the repair, so that took all the detail. We had to come up with a couple different tools in order to pull the correct wipes and just to get it to look like there was never any damage done to this man's boat. So we took a high build primer and we sprayed the whole repair. After that, you block it a bunch, and we got back down to fiberglass in a couple spots because there was so much blocking, and so we sprayed it again, and this time we used quick build. And quick build, you're supposed to paint right after it, but when I sprayed the quick build, I noticed that it wasn't ready for paint. I'm just gonna be honest. The radius was still off, and there's still a little more body work, and that happens in the repair world. So I went on and I blocked it some more, and I filled in some more pinholes, and I hit it with some more Evercoat, and you do what you gotta do to get the repair right? So I let it all kick off. Then I hit it with the 545, which is really your last step. After the 545 went on, we all looked at it and we said, that's the way it's supposed to look, and she was ready for paint. And you can't tell anything was done, what hurricane damage, like it's beautiful. It turned out real well.
The paint blend on the whole side of the Hydra-Sport came out really nice. The color matched perfectly, the fairing was on point, and I think they knocked it out of the park.
When we return, Mike and Debbie at Wildfire Marine tackle rewiring the 23-foot Seacraft project. This segment brought to you by West Marine, for your life on the water.
Woo! Our alarm clock is not about waking up.
It's on, man.
I like that head shake.
We outfit your greatest gear.
I'm gonna put 50 pound on all 4 rods per leader.
A bucktail on 1 rod.
You catch dinner before most get out of bed.
There he is, tail walking, baby. Nice fish.
That's a good one, buddy.
Boom.
West Marine, for your life on the water.
Beautiful.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join us as the team at Wildfire Marine dives into completely rewiring the 23-foot Seacraft.
Now we're going to start rigging on that 23 Seacraft. Now that everything's all de-rigged. We run into a couple problems. One of them is the fact that there's no rigging tube. So what we've had to do is, in his in-deck live well, we were able to drill a hole in the forward part and the aft section. And what we do is we put a piece of pipe in, put a coupler on it, slide it forward, put another piece and another coupler. And so we do that, we have 3 or 4 pieces to give us a full-length rigging tube. We're doing the same thing for the fuel lines, just a little bit smaller. This allows us to put the fuel lines through one tube, completely away from any of the wiring, which will be in the other tube. It's kind of a tough process, but it's the only way we could really get anything in.
Once the rigging tube got in there, it was all open. You put a wire up in there and pull all my wires through without it getting tangled, or it was a very nice flow.
Originally, this boat had one bilge pump, which we always put 2 pumps in. I think one pump is really it's kind of dangerous because you always have to have a backup at least. All we did was I used the same plate. I just put a PVC plate on top of that to make it a little bit larger, and his bilge pumps are all secured by that one PVC piece.
When I order from Pacer, I order my standard wire, and then I order tracer wire. One bilge pump is brown, the other one's brown-orange. My float is an orange by the time it goes up. It lets you know that that's a main wire. They are butt connected, and they have a heat shrink automatically in it. And then once I do the service loop, then all the rest of the wires go up inside the console and goes to the switches. What I like to do is when I go to put the switch panel in, I like to leave plenty of space so that you can take the switch panel back out. If I had to get into it, I had the helm in my way, I had the throttles in my way, so it wouldn't have been a pleasant job for me. My little granddaughter wouldn't be able to hang out with me.
We have kind of an additional employee here. We have custody of our granddaughter, Debbie either spends most of the afternoon taking care of her in the office, or occasionally, like in this case with the rigging job on this boat, it's a clean boat, so we went ahead and brought her out on the boat, and that way she gets to, something different from being in the office. She gets a little restless, she runs around, and when I was working down in the bilge, I turned to my left and she was laying right there next to me looking down in the bilge, so it's a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah, I have a very, very good time with her. There's never a dull moment.
When the boat came in, it had a water tank inside of the console with a battery mounted on top of it because there wasn't any space. This boat has an extremely large anchor locker. So rather than waste all that space, we took the water tank and went ahead and mounted it in there. We also put some battery hold-down trays in there. When the boat came in, the batteries were basically just sitting in open trays. The name of my business came from a race boat that had part of my name in it, and they had a battery break loose because it wasn't secured properly, and it hit a fuel pump, which sprayed fuel all over the battery and the rest of the boat, and the boat burned. And so part of that is an issue of how my business came about.
All right, so first thing, we were putting the batteries in. I ran 2-gauge wire. I ran a negative and a positive all the way to the back of the boat. Then I used engine posts. We ran our cables right to the post. Once we did that, we also put 3 battery switches. One was for one motor, one was for the other motor, and then the house battery, which had his stereo system, all of his electronics, and all that goes just to the house battery. We also took one of the motor batteries and we daisy chained it to the second motor battery in case one of the batteries died. It was able to feed off the motor to recharge it again.
We also have the house battery in the center, which can also act as a backup battery for either one. So that he just needs to control everything with a switch. He can get power from all 3 batteries to whichever point he needs.
I take my time. Mike gets a little annoyed side because it does take me a little while longer, but then he has access to everything inside his boat, and I'm sure it will perform a lot nicer because he's got up-to-date cables and, everything's fresh.
The boat's a whole lot easier to work with. It's a whole lot safer, and it's a whole lot easier for him to see if he has any issues starting because everything is nice and plain and neat. I think he's going to be happy for a long time. He shouldn't have any electrical issues for quite some time.
Next week on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. The professionals at TRB work to finalize and deliver the Hydra-Sports project. Stewart and Isla Mirada Boatworks begin designing and building their very own shallow water skiff. George LaBonte joins Captain Chris Francis aboard his fully restored 24-foot Morgan. And one-man guest Jimmy Wells brings in his custom 28 Bertram for some fresh power at Two Rivers.